we think that it was E.T. who pushed everybody away from the moon. He said, assuming that I knew, do you think I could tell you? I worked for a large stock market trader. I was 100% correct for the first 10 days. We also make agreement with that person who is going to come along and push every damn button we have. They're doing it out of love. If you teach a 12-year-old farm boy there's no such thing as dead, that's dangerous.
And we're live. Paul Elder, thank you so much for having me up. This is a beautiful home, and I've never been this far north on Vancouver Island.
Oh, wow.
So thank you for the opportunity.
A pleasure.
Yeah, this is wonderful. We met, a month ago, 2 months ago?
Yeah, moved.
At the Monroe Institute, when you trained my gateway. So you know how they say, thank you.
You're welcome.
It was wonderful. Everybody, Paul Elder has quite the backstory. We're not going to go into all of the sordid details of his life, but he is an accomplished author. He was the mayor of a city in Saskatchewan, Swift Current, fairly large city, which is kind of cool. And you were a broadcaster on Canadian television. And the reason we're talking today is I'm fascinated in a couple of the things that you wrote in your book and that you were discussing with us at the Monroe Institute around your near-death experiences. Anything else you'd like to chat about before we get into that?
Oh, goodness. There is, really, there's so much. One of my favorite topics, of course, is extraterrestrials.
Yeah. Oh, we can definitely get into some of that.
So anything like that.
Yeah.
And anything on the weird side.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And spoiler alert, there may be some pictures later to come. You were suggesting we'd stop at a specific lake up here on the island.
Yes.
Weird stuff, gang. And I'm pretty excited. So you cut a path through your life. But early on, you had experienced what a lot of people don't experience more than once in their lives. And that's basically, I don't know a better way to say it, a more polite way to say it, but you died young. Would you mind telling us a little bit about what that was like and how it came about?
Well, I've, over the years, I've actually had 5 near-death experiences, which is crazy. And people say, 5, why so many?
Right.
Well, I think the problem is if you teach, like I drowned when I was 12 years old on the farm in the middle of nowhere and had this amazing experience. But when you're 12 and weird stuff happens, you go, that was weird. And you go on with life. But the problem with that is if you teach a 12-year-old farm boy there's no such thing as dead, that's dangerous. Because after that it was, why not? Let's try it. What's the worst that could happen?
So you got a little reckless, maybe?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, more than a little.
Nice. So when you drowned, I don't even know if there's a polite way to ask this, but I also know that you'll answer it. What was the experience when you died, I guess?
It was actually really profound. We were, our 2 cousins from the big city of Edmonton were visiting us on the farm, and we were out showing them chasing gophers and stuff on the prairies. And we came upon a pond that was about a mile from our country home. And where we found the neighbor's kids had left a raft. And we were always told to stay away from these places because we couldn't swim.
Right.
And so there was this fear that everybody has. And anyway, we sort of, next thing you know, we're floating around on this raft. And my older cousin, when he found out that we were terrified of water, thought, well, wouldn't it be fun to rock the raft? And I fell in the water. And it was the strangest thing because I didn't even try to dog paddle or anything. It was just like, oh my God, I'm going to be dead, or something, or I'm drowning or whatever. And I began to sink in the water.
Oh, wow.
And the strangest thing happened as I sank down, and it was about 12 to 15 feet deep.
Yeah.
So I could feel my feet sinking into the mud at the bottom. And then I pushed and I went up to the top again. And I'm not sure if my head came through the surface or not, but the water was clearer. And a strange thing happened on the way back down. As I'm sinking, all of the air came out of my lungs and replaced by water. And it was completely comfortable. It was this really shocked me. It was completely comfortable and quite fascinating. I'm floating down into the water going, whoa, this is so cool.
Not what I would expect. Okay.
Yeah, not what anybody expects, because we've all had, when we're growing up at some point in a swimming pool or in the ocean or in a lake.
Right.
We've all sucked in a big gulp of water and the instant panic that happened. Well,
That's exactly right.
As soon as all of the air went out and it was replaced by water, it was completely calm. And that really fascinated me. But you know why? It makes sense. We spent the first 9 months of our lives in a liquid environment.
Right, the amniotic fluid.
Right, where we're breathing in, we're breathing out, or whatever it is. But,
Oh, wow.
And so it was like it took me back there into that space. And it was like, whoa, this is so cool. And
Hey, don't try this at home, kids.
Yes. And so I sank in. After that happened, I sank to the bottom again. And it didn't last too long, though, because without any oxygen, the brain fries up and the next thing I become aware of, I lost consciousness, and I became aware as I'm coming back in with a little jolt.
Right.
And I'm still in the water, but everything has changed. I'm in a bubble of energy. It was so strange for me. I'm in a bubble of energy, and inside this bubble was every color in the rainbow. And it was so bizarre because there was like green and red, and each of the colors vibrated, and they felt different. Each color had a different vibration to it. And I'm just fascinated by that. Oh my God. And I'm running my hands through these colors inside and noticing all this, and the colors are actually penetrating what I think is my body.
Right.
In the pond. And I'm thinking, whoa, this is weird. Am I dead? Am I dying? And then the minute sort of I thought of that, an old memory of Tom Sawyer came up in my mind.
Okay.
And it was about a few weeks before that I had read the book Tom Sawyer, where he was believed to have drowned in the Mississippi somewhere, and he returns back to the community, at the time of his funeral or something like that.
Yeah.
And so I thought about that, and I went, whoa. And almost instantly I went shooting out of the water, boom, and I'm floating over the choir loft at the top of our Catholic church out in the country, in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
In this church, and there's nobody there. And I'm thinking, well, if this is where is everybody? This is my funeral.
Oh, no. Sorry.
It was so bizarre because I'm not, like this big old Catholic church and, second floor choir loft. I'm floating above there, and I'm floating, and I'm thinking about Tom Sawyer, and I'm thinking, Tom Sawyer didn't fly. I am flying.
Right.
And it was the coolest thing, because I learned that, just by thought I could move over, and I'm over 16 feet down. I was like, oh, that's a little scary. So I backed up, but I was able to float around in the church.
Yeah.
And as I'm thinking about this and thinking, this is so cool, dying ain't bad. And all of a sudden, it was like somebody kicked me in the stomach, and boom, I'm back on the shore.
Okay.
And my cousins got me, I'm bouncing my face in the mud, and he's pumping the water out of me.
Okay.
And I was just like, whoa, that was just so weird.
Farm kid CPR.
We took
yeah.
probably a half hour to get our wits about us.
Yeah.
About what happened. So we're sitting there, and we knew we'd have to shut up because we couldn't tell a soul, because we'd get in big trouble.
Yeah.
And so we talked about that, but like seeing my little brother and my two cousins, their eyes, everybody's were like this big. It was just so strange. And so we walked really slowly on the way home to let our clothes dry out and stuff like that. And we got back to the farm, and I stayed outside. And about 10 minutes later, some kayang and cussing in German was coming out of my house, and somebody spilled the beans.
Well, that didn't take long. Okay.
And the two kids got a good whipping on that day, and I was one of them. That'll teach me to die.
How dare you, Paul?
Exactly.
If you're going to do it right. No, sorry.
Yeah. That was, strangely enough, that was the way things worked.
No, weirdly, I can imagine that. And what you described sounds so eerily similar to almost what we would call a standard out-of-body experience too.
Yes.
And other elements for folks that haven't had that experience, think to the dreams that we've had where we can just fly and move.
Mm-hmm.
And it all sounds so closely tied together. There's something to it.
There was, well, for me at the time, I didn't know anything. I'm 12 years old.
No, right. Nobody talks about this.
Right. And it was such a strange feeling about it. And I didn't realize until many years later how that had changed me.
Okay.
How that dying and that issue with, floating in the church and thinking of Tom Sawyer and all of those things, how that, I didn't realize it, but what happened after that is I could see things in my mind, but I never related the two.
Right.
It was just sort of, that was the way I was. And I should back up a little bit and tell you that this was on a farm in the middle of nowhere in Saskatchewan. And my mother, deeply Catholic, had 8 girls in a row. And then she changed the dial and had 3 boys. And I'm the 10th out of 11 kids.
Yeah.
And so we learned it was sort of, we learned respect for each other and, that kind of thing. But even my sisters to this day can vouch for it. Because they, eventually, they would say, well, if something was missing around the house or whatever, they would say, well, ask Paul. Because I had, for some reason, I could see things.
Right.
Didn't know why or didn't relate it to, the drowning or anything else. And so it, of course, engaged me into a lot of fun sometimes, because sometimes I was the one who took it, whatever was missing. And then I could be,
Are we building our own legend
yeah,
here?
I could be the hero by finding it, to build my own legend.
Right.
And so I didn't realize until many years later where that came from.
Right.
One of the events when I was about 14, life is going on and so on and so forth. And I'm at my cousin's house one Saturday, and I'm walking home and, through this old area, went past the Catholic church again. And there was like a row of trees. They were about 70, 80 feet high, pretty big trees. And there's a huge nest up on top of one of them. And I thought, I wonder if that's the turkey nest, because I didn't realize that turkeys can't fly.
Right.
And don't make nests up in trees.
No. Okay.
And I had no idea.
You're sure you were a farm kid?
Yeah. But I recall that we could hear the turkeys, that they were there, and we would hear them gobbling during church and stuff like this, and they'd be flying and fluttering around above the ground, right? And I'm thinking, oh my God, I got to check this out. That could be a turkey nest. And so I crawled up this tree, and I'm getting way up into the branches, fearless.
Right.
And
because you already know.
Yes. And so I get to the nest, and the nest is like right here over top of me, and I'm holding on a branch like this on either side of it, and I'm standing on my tiptoes on the branch below, and I can't see it. I want to see it.
Yeah.
And I started pulling that. I'm thinking, oh my God, what if there's a turkey in there and it bites me in the face or something? And I thought, but there could be baby turkeys,
Right. But we want to see that.
Yes, exactly. And I'm pulling on this, and all of a sudden, the branch I was standing on broke,
Yeah.
and I went falling through that tree instantly.
Yeah.
And it was the most bizarre thing because I hit the first big branch on the way down, probably 10, 12 feet below me. And it just went boom.
And tumbled.
The next thing I know, I'm floating in the tree, watching my body hit branches as it's going down and fell on the ground on my back. Knocked the wind out of me, but I'm up in the tree going,
Yeah. Yeah. What are you doing?
it was such a bizarre, that was probably one of the most profound things. And it knocked me out,
Right.
the first branch that I hit kind of thing. But I woke up when I'm laying on the ground looking up into the tree, and I laid there for like 10 minutes because I was sore.
Yeah.
And the other part of me was thinking, what the heck just happened?
Yeah.
How could that be? I saw myself fall out of a tree,
Right.
which probably isn't a good thing.
No, might not be, but also so that would be your first spontaneous out of body? Or is
I
that
guess, yeah, that's a good
not gonna call the
right.
drowning one of
Right.
those?
It was a very, very sort of profound event in my life.
Sure.
That it wasn't a near-death experience. It was just sort of a
Right.
knockout kind of thing, and and it changed so many things because it just sort of drove the nails into the plank that says, no, we're not these bodies.
Yeah. If you didn't get it before, we're
Right.
gonna make sure you understand this now.
Yes. Yep. And then so that changed my life again, really significantly. And so another 3 years later, I was in a violent car accident and got all smashed up, and and like had a punctured lung and a whole bunch of things, and had another profound experience
Yeah.
with the spirit world, if you will,
Sure.
that woke me up. And because it was in the wintertime in the middle of Saskatchewan in some remote area, and we're in this 64 Ford, no seat belts in those days.
Yep.
And we had a blowout, and we went down sideways down a ditch. And the last I remember as the windshield, because we were going about 80 miles an hour, and just end over end. And I was in the, I can't remember where, but I remember the windshield exploding with, multiple pieces of small glass. And then I was out cold. And it was probably, I don't know, 15 or 20 degrees below freezing. And I became aware that somebody was keeping me warm, and somebody caused me to wake up. And I didn't know where I was or what had happened, and it was just so confusing. And I saw probably the only car coming down the road that we were going to be seeing that night.
Right.
And which woke me up. And so I had to scramble like 100 yards on my hands and knees to
All
the
beat
side of
up.
the road to wave them down.
Yeah.
And thank God I got there just in time. And I recall so much that, the sound of gravel flying all over the place as they hit the brakes.
Yep.
And so they said they would go and call somebody, because this is long before cell phones or anything else. And so, I went back and I found my two buddies, and they were both unconscious. And then, I dozed off again. And then pretty soon I became aware that, here comes a police car. I could see the flashing lights and stuff, and the ambulance coming. And
Right.
yeah.
You mentioned sort of, how did you say it? An encounter with the spirit world. What does that mean to you?
Well, it was, and that's a good point, because it was so strange.
Yeah.
It was like somebody was laying there with me, keeping me warm.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And that was my first, and like shaking me to wake me up,
Oh, wow.
and I don't know how to really put that into
No, that's okay.
relevant words, but it was like, it's like when this car was coming off in the distance, and it was like somebody actually was like getting my attention, shaking me,
Right.
that I got to move and I got to do this. So it was all, kind of strange, but
And a lot of people have a lot of words for what they would think was happening there.
yeah.
But I mean, would that presumably have been your first encounter with an entity or a
Yes.
spiritual being?
Yes.
Wow.
I became aware of that there was, I did not, it's strange because I didn't relate
Sure.
in that way, but somebody was there keeping me warm
Yeah.
and waking me up.
Yeah. And why would you relate that way?
Right.
Right. I mean,
Right.
raised staunchly Catholic,
Yeah.
there's really not a lot of room. Maybe there is. I'm not
Yeah.
totally familiar with the lore. But there isn't a lot of discussion around that outside of maybe angels,
Yes.
which a lot of people talk about.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. So I didn't, but I was 17 at the time, and that changed a whole lot of things. So yeah.
what did that change for you? Did that change your approach to, yeah, I guess I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, I think it made me consider, well, I mean, the falling out of the tree thing, that was a huge load.
Right.
This one was like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, there was somebody there though. What the heck?
Yeah.
Who was helping me? So it just sort of added, a little
Yeah.
bit to the confusion. And it was strange because when the police came and the ambulance or whatever, and the police officer, because I was the only one who was awake, my two friends were unconscious. And yeah, and I didn't realize that it had torn my ear practically all the way off. My right ear was just hanging there, and
Yeah.
anyway,
Glad they got it back.
yeah, and it was so they got me. I passed out in the ambulance on the way to the hospital, and was asleep for 2 or 3 days. And it was so strange because I'm waking up from, the sedative and everything else that they gave me,
Right.
because my ear was torn up, my skull was crushed, or had a big cut on the top of it and stuff like that. And so they had, sedated me pretty good, and I was gone for like 2 days.
Wow.
And couldn't remember things, So I woke up after 2-3 days, and I realized, whoa, I'm in the hospital.
Yeah.
Because here's one of those floaty tables in front that you can flip open, and it had a mirror in it, and there's nobody in the room, and I'm laying there, and what's going on? And I flipped up this thing, and I took a look, and jeez.
Right.
We have to remember that this was like the late 60s or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And I had a long beetle haircut.
Oh, nice.
And
I can imagine this.
They had shaved the top of my head
Oh, so now you're a monk.
with stitches in it. And I looked like a monk. I was like, what is going on? It was really a bizarre.
Oh, your sense of self had to take a hit from that.
Yeah. But it was so strange because I couldn't remember that what happened, in the accident. And it took a week or so for this to float back in,
Right.
if you will.
Yeah.
So anyway, that just sort of opened the door to more, holy crap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So something you had touched on was being able to find things or know where things were. Gosh, I have like 3 divergent points here that I'd like to move toward. Let's table my questions about how this applies to your experience with remote viewing.
No.
We'll come back to this
Okay.
because it seems like there was a reason for it. Well, we'll get back to it.
Right.
I've chatted with some folks about their own near-death experiences, and some say there's this profound sense of love or being loved. There are a lot of books written about this where people profess to have been to what they considered an afterlife or a heaven, and then, came back of their own volition. And then I've got some friends who felt abandoned or rejected when they were back here. Did you have any of those experiences following any of your, experiences?
Well, yes, I did, but not until the next experience.
Okay.
And that was, This was a bizarre world for me because I got into broadcasting. I was a rock and roll disc jockey, and then I got into news, and I worked for CTV and various other.
You've had a fun life, Paul.
Yeah, it was bizarre, and I got into politics, but at a sort of a lower level, city politics. So I was the mayor of a city for like 18 years or whatever it was.
Right.
And it was then when I was the big change, probably that changed what I was doing with my life.
Okay.
Because when I was 41 and the mayor of the city or whatever, and I was playing old timers hockey, and I had a heart attack.
Oh, Canadian.
Yes, of course. I had a heart attack in the middle of the hockey game. Didn't realize it because I'm like out playing, and I only had one gear, and that was high.
Right.
You know, go. And I finished a circuit, came in and sat down on the bench, and all of a sudden I'm having trouble breathing and thinking, what is going on here? And then pretty soon my elbow started to hurt.
Yep.
And it hurt like a whole lot.
Okay.
And I'm thinking, oh my God, what is wrong with me? And it was such a strange thing. So, yeah. I'm sitting there and it's not going away. It's getting worse and I'm getting dizzy. And I thought, oh, I got to get out of here. So I told the guys I'm going back to the dressing room, and I got there and I thought, okay, what should I do with this coming about, you know? And so I was going to, take off all my hockey equipment and then shower and go home.
Right.
And I finally got into the hallway with my hockey equipment, and I'm looking up this long stairway going out of the rink or the arena, and I'm thinking, I don't know if I can make it up that stairs. I maybe should be going to the hospital.
Yeah.
And so anyway, with that thought, one of the rink attendants happened to be coming down the hallway, and he saw me and he checked me out, and because I'm hanging against a wall, and he took off to phone an ambulance or something.
Right.
And I lost consciousness. I just sunk down the wall, and I'm laying on the floor or whatever, and I became aware when I heard a few minutes later, I guess, I heard the noise of the wheels from the trolley from
Okay.
the
Like the gurney or
ambulance.
yeah.
Yeah, they're pushing the gurney or whatever it is down the hallway and rushing to get me, and got me into the ambulance, and was a young lady who's, the attendant inside, and asking me questions and stuff like that, and I died.
Oh.
In the ambulance, and it was just the strangest thing because I faded. I just lost all consciousness. She's talking, and I'm talking, and all of a sudden, everything's gone, and I feel this jolt, and I'm back, and I'm like, and I was floating above my body in the ambulance, and that was so bizarre.
Yeah.
Because I was floating into the ceiling of the ambulance and looking down, and she's talking to me or trying to get me to
respond.
Yeah, and I was just, whoa. But it really struck me as really bizarre because it was about 3 weeks before that my wife then had said, because we had two friends, one of them actually had a heart attack and died playing floor hockey with the kids in school, and another one, Bernie or whatever, and he had a heart attack, but he survived. And my wife was giving me, like, what are you doing? You're not 20 anymore, you're 40.
Never tell a man that.
You want to kill yourself? And it was just, to me, it was like, oh God, really?
Right.
Never been in better shape.
Yeah.
And the first thing I thought about was my wife, and she's going to be so ticked.
Sorry. Yes.
Yes, exactly. And
should laugh. Yeah.
So it was so bizarre because I thought about my wife, and the next thing, I'm floating in my living room in my house, watching my wife and my two kids get ready for church.
Yeah.
And then I realized, oh, it's Sunday. Maybe I should have gone to church.
Something beautifully poetic about that.
Yes. And so I knew that everything would be just fine, and they'd be just fine.
Right.
And no problem. Life goes on. And I was saying goodbye to them.
Yeah.
And I said my goodbyes to them, and then I thought about, and the next thing I know, boom, I'm back in the ambulance, and I'm saying goodbye to me.
Okay.
And then the next thing I know, I'm floating up through the ceiling of the ambulance, and that was so bizarre, because it was slow motion. I'm floating up through the ceiling of the ambulance. I could feel the inner cloth and the insulation on the inner walls of the ambulance, and then the metal as I went through, and it was just like, oh, this is so cool.
Yeah.
And I don't know where the light came from, but there is, to me, I mean, you hear the stories about,
Right.
follow the light, Well, I think the light is here. I think it's the third eye,
Okay.
and anyway, I'm seeing this my impression of the light, and I'm going towards it, and I'm going home. And I was so excited because,
Everybody calls it that. Everybody says it's going home.
yeah, oh yeah, totally. It was like, I'm just screaming happy. I'm going home. I'm going home. And it was so cool. And reminded me of the movie E.T. or whatever it was back in the old days.
Yeah.
When the E.T. is all disturbed and he's sick and stuff. And then the spaceship comes back and his heart lights up and he's like, home, home, home.
Yeah.
And I was going home, and the next thing was like, boom. There's an explosion. And I was in the emergency room at the hospital, and they had just jolted me back.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And it annoyed me. I said a very bad word that you shouldn't say in front of nurses and stuff.
Right. No.
But it was, yeah. So anyway, I had this heart attack, and they figured it all out and got me patched up. And after that, well, there was more to it. I had a bit of a life review.
Okay. Oh, you did have that then. Okay.
Yeah. And so begin to understand how things are processed.
Yeah.
And apparently somehow, and we're only beginning to understand the implications of who we are and where we are and the time at this time in our universe,
Yeah.
as things are going on. Somehow everything that we've ever said or done or did,
Yeah.
or thought about even, is recorded.
Yeah.
In our own intelligence or on the other side, and it's there for our review.
Yeah.
And I had a life review, and it was so, it was really a strange happening, strange feeling,
Yeah.
the life review. There was, and it's so hard to put into words, everything that happened around it. But some of the things that stood out in my mind, among the millions of things that were happening, it was just like, and there were a couple of things that had happened, and that I remember, that I recall from when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And I was like 15 years old or whatever, and trying to impress some girls back in school, and I'm standing there with my back against the brick wall of the schoolhouse during recess or something like that. And there's one on either side of me, and we're chatting, and this kid comes along who's just annoying.
Yeah.
And he's coming along, and he's got a basketball, and he bounces, comes back, and he goes, "Elder, catch." And he threw the ball, and it hit me in the nose, and I went bang against the brick wall. And I just instantly, like he was one of those kids.
It's
that
a
was
rage
so
response.
Annoying,
Yeah.
and who knows why he was annoying, but so I punched him,
Yeah.
and I knocked him down, and I jumped on side of him because it hit me hard, and
Right.
I was embarrassed in front of these girls,
For sure.
and so I jumped on him, and I was going to wail on him, and I couldn't,
Oh, interesting.
and something happened, and in this life review, and I became this kid.
Yep. Okay. I wondered if that was going to happen to you.
Yeah, and it was just so bizarre because this kid was frozen practically with fear and everything else, because I hit him really hard. His nose was bleeding.
Yeah.
And
And for him, this
like
came
he's
out of
going to take,
nowhere.
yeah. It's like he's going to, he's thinking he's going to take a beating and stuff like this. And I'm sitting on him, and I'm thinking, well, who is judging me? And then I thought, no, there's nobody judging me. I'm judging me about what I'm doing.
God, that's so consistent. so many people come back and recognize, not so many people, as many of these stories as we hear,
Right.
there are interpretations of where the judgment is coming from.
Right.
But a very consistent theme that I've been picking up in the last couple of years is that we are the ones that are judging ourselves and
Right.
determining what we do next, so to speak,
Totally.
which has all sorts of ramifications.
Yes. Well, it opens a huge cavern on responsibility, everything that we do share.
It's no can of worms. It's hit the cavern.
Yeah, it's vast. But it was so bizarre because then I understood and realized that no, that's not. There is no being that's judging me. I'm the one who's judging me. And that realization came out of that very quickly.
Yeah.
And we had so many. Well, back in Swift Current, Saskatchewan, had a lot of friends. One of them, a guy named Peter, and he had two kids that had been affected. They were, I can't remember the word for it, but paralyzed and, can hardly walk and that kind of stuff. And Peter was amazing with them. He took them everywhere. He'd bring them to hockey games in their wheelchairs and stuff like this, holding their drinks so that they could have a drink and stuff like that. And I was just always so impressed.
Yeah.
That this guy, what he's doing. And it was just, such an amazing process that I'm watching. And I asked him one day, like, how do you do that? And because I'm thinking, you poor guy.
Yeah.
He didn't look at it that way at all.
No.
He thought he was lucky.
Yeah.
That he was these two angels. He was there to help them. And it was just, to me, it was sort of a mind-blowing thing.
Yeah.
And so, anyway, it was just, there's so many avenues in this that...
But it sounds like he got it.
Oh, yes, like he knew.
Pardon me. I get choked up on this one. No, it sounds like he understood what this is.
He thought there were angels.
Yeah.
That came to provide him with information and with a lifetime that he needed. And it just sort of opened up, all of these things just sort of opened up new possibilities. Whoa, what a...
Yeah.
So I learned a lot in that particular thing, in that near-death experience. But what it did is it opened up the doorway for me because once they figured it out, and they gave me an injection of streptokinase or something like that, and then the blockages in my heart or whatever opened up, and I'm good. I want to go home. And no.
Nice try, fella.
Not going to happen like that. But when I did get home, and about 2 weeks later, all of a sudden I wake up in the middle of the night and I'm floating at the ceiling of my bedroom.
Right on.
Oh my God. Because I had heard about that before. I had heard about probably in the 80s somewhere.
Yeah.
I'd watched a television interview with a guy named Robert Monroe.
Yep.
And he had written a book called Journeys Out of Body or something like that.
Yeah.
And I was so fascinated by it. And I went and I borrowed it from the library. I never even bought it. I borrowed it from the library, read it from cover to cover, and thought, that is cool, but this guy's a nut job.
After everything you had experienced.
Yes. Yeah. Like, isn't nuts. And so, it was so funny because now I'm out of body at the ceiling of my bedroom, and the first thing I think of is, Monroe wasn't crazy. And I'm looking down, I can see me and my wife, and I had this amazing experience, and it was just so powerful, and I wanted that more than anything else.
Yeah.
And it just sort of opened the doorway to all of these things, all of the events that would later, unravel in my life, if you will.
Interesting way to put it. And I appreciate that your response was very different from his of, who the heck is that in bed with my wife?
Yes, yeah. Well, it was such a, that is one of the most bizarre experiences that I ever had. It's like floating down and looking at myself from the outside.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I'm laying there, you know.
And you had already watched yourself fall out of a tree. So
Yes, that's true.
so
That's,
just for reference, like that, yeah.
yeah, it was such a bizarre thing to be seeing myself from another person's point of view
Yeah.
and thinking, oh my God, you're old. It was so strange, but it opened me up to that whole world. And so when I flashed back into my body, and it was like middle of the night,
Yeah.
and I couldn't sleep because it was just sort of like, oh my God,
Oh, you had to be wired.
this is so cool.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, next day I went down to the library, and I found out that he'd written another book called Far Journeys. And in the book, he talks about that he had created this center in Virginia where they were teaching how to go out of body and things of that nature. And I thought, oh my God, I gotta go.
Yeah.
And so it was so shortly after that was when I did go to Virginia and met Bob, and
Yeah.
yeah, it was pretty cool.
And fast forward, you are now a trainer there
Yes.
several times a year. And that's, as mentioned earlier, that's how we met.
Yes, yeah. Well, I've been a trainer now for 24 years
Yeah.
at the Institute. So this was like in the 90s.
Yeah.
And Bob and I got to be friends, and he would invite me, take me up to his house and we'd have dinner or whatever. And he shared some things with me that were pretty cool.
Yeah.
But he would always pester me. He wanted me to be a trainer.
Okay.
And I'd be like, because at the time I was running an insurance company,
Yeah.
and I was the mayor of a city, and I was like, I
Right.
don't got time for this, Bob.
Right. I got bills to pay, man.
Yes. And, so that was sort of a chuckle kind of thing.
Yeah.
And a little embarrassing, perhaps. But when Bob died in 1995, and his daughter Lori took over, and then the first time I was down there after that, I'd taken a program, and she called me into the office, and she says, Daddy always said you'd be a good trainer.
Thanks.
And I went, okay, Bob.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, fine.
Yes, pretty much. And so that sort of was part of it caused me to change my life.
Yeah.
That it caused me to sell my insurance company and to get out of politics.
Yeah.
And
Also, good did come from this.
Yes.
Oh, sorry.
Yep. Totally. Yeah.
Bad politician joke.
Yeah. And I became a trainer, and that's 20-some years ago. And
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, very clearly, all of this has had a massive effect on your life. I did want to come back to, so you had the life review. You had felt that you were going home, and then you came back. And I know at least one of my buddies would be very upset if I didn't push further on this point. But the feelings of possible rejection, was that something that you had encountered in one of your near-death experiences, of not being able to go home, as they say?
Oh, actually, yes, I did. I'm not sure how to put it, but that
That's
did
okay.
cross my mind. It's like, no,
Right.
I want to go home.
Yeah. This was
Because
a nice diversion down here, but guys.
Yes, that did cross my mind, but there were so many other things that I realized in that life review, and where this all comes from, I don't know, because it's just flashing. It's so incredible. I realized that what had happened, well, I should rephrase that perhaps. After going out of body a few times, when I was in Virginia, I got to meet my own spirit guide. And it just blew the doors right off my boat. It was like, holy smoke. And here's a male in this particular case. And his name was Melder.
Melnor?
Melder.
Melnor.
Yeah. And it was, yeah, it was such a strange case or condition. And so he talked to me about that and basically what I understood is that he was actually plan B, because I had agreed to come here into this lifetime to do certain things.
Okay.
But I was procrastinating and pushing it off and wasn't doing it.
If they kept kicking you in the butt.
Exactly.
Okay.
So he was the butt kicker. So he's plan B. He's called in to get my damn attention.
Yep.
And to work with me on it. And so that was what he told me, basically, is that now, but he was so funny, and he was pretty amazing. And it opened up, and so to prove that to me, because
right,
I'm not going to believe this.
Yeah. Recovering politician here. Come on.
Yes, totally. Yeah. So he opened up my mind to it with examples of all of the things where he's been there that I didn't realize. The things like through my life that had changed different possibilities, like when I was younger and driving back, and this was stood out in my mind, and this was all going through my mind. He's like, "Oh yeah, well, how about this?" And
Yeah.
what? That was you?
Okay.
Like I'm driving through British Columbia, through the mountains, going back to Saskatchewan, and or the other way around, I don't remember. And I fell asleep in my car, and there's a curve coming, and I'm going straight.
Yep.
And there was a semi-trailer in the other lane, and all of a sudden somebody yelled at me, "Paul, wake up!" And I was like, and I went, skidding sideways, and I missed it, and my heart's like pounding. And
Sure.
Oh my God, I could have been killed. And it was him. He was guiding me and, pushing things in certain directions. And so it just opened my mind up to, holy smoke, how is this all possible?
That's really that's really one of those fundamental questions, isn't it? Coming from look, we are firmly grounded in this material reality from a day-to-day basis. Most of us don't have or claim to have access to these aspects of experience at will or on command. So it's a total paradigm shift when you experience it.
It was so strange, so bizarre. And I think what I learned at the Monroe Institute and doing all of these things, because after I became a trainer, I just wanted, and going out of body on a regular basis, I wanted that more than anything else, and I just so grabbed onto it.
Yeah.
And I learned more and more about who we are and why we're here, why we do all of these things.
Yeah.
And to make sense of it all.
Right.
And so for my life, for most of it, has been about trying to find that.
That makes sense. Have you got a sense of it yet? Willing to share it, or is that not for us to?
Oh, no, that's...
Okay.
Well, what I've realized, or what I've discovered with my own experiences and so on over the years, that the reality of who we are, we come here many times, and there's like structure to it.
Seems to
All
be.
right. So we're all part of a family of souls. So like literally a family of souls. Like
Literally.
So this time you might be here as the son. Last time you might have been here as the father.
Right.
Family that, and what we agreed to do is bring along certain souls who agree to come along and to fill or take up a space in our life.
Yeah.
And it could be as simple as coming along to say 3 words to us.
Yeah.
At some point in our life that changes everything.
Yeah.
So not a big plan, just that's it. And opening that sort of, that bag of possibilities and stuff like that, we also make agreement with that person who is going to come along and push every damn button we have.
Every damn button. We all know them,
And
folks.
you know who it is.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
But guess what? And this is the twist for me. This was hard for me to understand. They're doing it out of love.
Even if they don't know it at the time.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
On the other side, they're doing it out of love.
Yeah. So the point being, all of these small little things that are happening that might pick us or pick at us, they are being done out of love.
Yeah.
And the other aspect is, as you describe it, and it's something that I've had some conversations around, where some people say, oh no, you only have agreements with a handful of people. Too much would be too much. But what you're describing is this massive web of interconnectedness between us and potentially every single person we encounter, either directly or indirectly.
Yes.
Which I always love this construct, which when you start to look at the way you described it as a family, a soul family, however you want to look at it, it potentially spans the whole globe. I'm thinking 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon here, right?
Yes. Yeah, that's true.
Which,
and it's sort of beyond beyond our concept of trying to put this into place.
Yeah.
It's so bizarre, but it is, and we're only learning now, just how bizarre or how widely, the world is.
How connected we all are.
Right. Yeah. With extraterrestrials and with all of those things. And we're only learning that now. So, but I found out that it was just sort of, wow, we are just going through life, through these little journeys and stuff like that, and making agreements and coming back for more and more. And, and it's about experiencing.
Yeah.
It's not about being a good person or anything else. I mean,
right.
Ultimately, perhaps.
We'd like it to be. We would like to have the high-minded principles that we are all guided to be better people, but also there are lessons that we're learning or teaching on either side of it when we're having these experiences with other people, which is, that's a weirdly hard one for me to wrap my head around.
Yes.
Just given all the cultural education we've received, growing up in a religious household. Like, you want to be a good person, but what does that mean? And
exactly.
Yeah.
I learned in the life review also a couple of little things, like there was a fella that lived in our city who had a reputation for being a drunk and was believed to beat up his wife occasionally and stuff like that. So, and of all things that I'm remembering in my life, this, in my life review, that came up. And there was an incident where I'm coming out of City Hall with my binder and I'm late for a meeting, and I come running down the front steps and I bump into this guy, literally. And I didn't know what to, because I just, there's a part of me that's human that wants to smack him in the head, you jerk.
Right.
And I just sort of changed that. And I said, oh, Mr., I won't mention his name.
Yeah, sure.
And well, how are you doing? How is the wife? How are the kids? Oh, you're looking great, man. That's
wow.
Cool. And this just came out and it was like pure bull from me.
Yeah.
Or at least I thought it was.
Right. Because it didn't feel probably genuine or authentic to you.
It was just bull, I thought.
Yeah.
And then I realized afterwards that this was vitally important to him.
Absolutely.
Because so today he goes home and he looks at things in a different way.
Yeah.
And this is sort of how a little act, sort of a flimsy little act that we can have affect so many people, or can affect so many people in different ways. So on this day, Mr. Dirksen, let's call him, not his name.
Sure.
He goes home and today he feels better and he doesn't smack his wife around. And his wife feels better and she doesn't take it out on the kids. And on this day, the kids don't take it out on their friends in the schoolyard. And I learned how an innocuous little act of kindness could have such an effect on someone's life.
Yeah.
And so that It's always stuck out in my mind.
Yeah, the only, and I know this isn't about me, but the only experience I've had a couple of experiences of life review, and I don't believe that any was necessarily associated with an NDE, but one was at a very low point in my experience of life, and I was almost knocked on my ass by just feeling and seeing the positive impacts that I had had.
Yeah.
It was as though it was like, hey, 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 it's going to be okay. You've had a positive, well, not purely positive. I'm sure I've had negative effects on people. And being able to see those positive effects brought me right back up. And I had to sit down for a solid 20 minutes afterwards and just sort of weep and say, oh, right, it's not all bad. Because we are here to do some pretty cool things, even if we don't see it.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I learned, I mean, what happens to souls that come here that commit suicide?
That is a wide open question.
Yeah. So, I mean, it could be their own internal thing, but it also could be, that was their plan.
Could be.
So there's like a whole bunch of
Yeah.
possibilities and little things that are happening. But in addition to, our family of souls, we're also part of a soul group.
Yeah.
And these are souls that are so like us in frequency and harmony that we could virtually end up in one of their bodies and not know the difference. And we've all had that experience.
Yes, we have.
Where
Sometimes explicitly.
Yes, where might be a dream that you've had before, and no, that was my house, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
So, and what I discovered about the family or the soul group, and mine is a fairly small one. There are 14 of us at the moment.
Okay.
Only, but it can range into hundreds of souls.
Right.
And there are 14 of us in the soul group. 4 of us are alive right now.
Okay.
And the other 10 remain on the other side. All right. But they get to experience my life. And I get to experience the lives of the other 3 as well in little pieces that are on Earth, which it's so mind-boggling, deep.
How and where did you acquire that understanding?
Well, through living it.
Okay.
I would have a dream in which I'm in this house and that's my wife, and then I wake up and go, what is going on? That wasn't my house. That isn't my wife.
Yeah.
I found out and was told
Okay.
afterwards by the spirit guides that, well, that's how it works.
That's how it works.
So one of my one of my soul group members.
Got it.
Here's how the experience happens. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm aware that I'm driving along. I'm in the back of a truck, and I'm thinking it's a dream. All right. I'm just in the back of a truck, and there's a whole bunch of pylons and stuff, and oh yeah, that's my job. I'm working for a movie theater. Yes. Yeah, I'm just sitting in the back of the truck as we're going down in LA. We're going into this big building where we've got a movie set, and then they got a whole bunch of electrical equipment and things like that in front of me. And I look at my watch, and I'm thinking, oh God, it's 7:30, and I'm exhausted. And then I'm going, did I feel my watch?
Yeah. That's not even my hand.
Exactly. That's what I realized. It was like, whoa, how is this possible?
Yeah.
And so then I find out about, well, this is one of our soul group that I just happened to click into. And
That's a nice way to put it.
so if you, we all have little dreams like that connect us. Unfortunately, well, now I think he's passed on, but for the longest time, one of my other members that are alive was a truck driver.
Mm.
And so I'd be laying there, and all of a sudden, here comes the lines on the road, here's the telephone posts, and it's just like, yeah.
Yeah.
It's boring. And I connect with him mostly.
Sure. Well, he's probably entering a
Yeah.
sort of hypnagogic,
Yep. Exactly.
what do they call that? Hypnosis, road hypnosis or something like that?
Yep. Yep. Totally.
Yeah.
You're in
So
in
he's
the
probably
zone.
getting into a
Yeah.
state where he's wide open to it.
Yep. Yeah. But it hasn't happened now for quite a while, so I'm thinking that maybe
He might be past.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And sorry if I just expressed that so casually. It's something that I think about a lot. Where we go and how we open up when we're in those almost hypnotic states, trance-like states that we can just enter during daily life, say as a truck driver, or in my experience, through meditation frequently, or that in-between space, right as that liminal space between waking and sleeping.
Yes.
Is when things really feel open. And capturing it is so interesting. Just the experiences in that place, but we lose so much of it every time we wake up.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I found over the years I would connect more and more with certain individuals and and learned about where it all going, and I had this all explained to me by my spirit guide as well.
Sure.
How it works and how we and so it just changes everything that we believe in. So yeah. One of the things that really changed things at the Monroe Institute.
Yeah.
Excuse me. One of the people there, when a fellow named Skip Atwater, Captain Atwater, and he had been the manager of Project Stargate.
Right.
At Fort Meade in Maryland, and looking after the manager of the remote viewing program. And when Skip retired from the Army, Bob hired him at the Monroe Institute as a techie or whatever. And so I got to meet Skip, and I didn't know anything about any of this stuff.
Why would you?
Yes, totally. And so they're telling me about it, and I'm thinking, what? I don't know, that sounds bizarre. And so what they had discovered, with back in the day, and this was like early 70s or whatever,
Yep.
They had discovered that people that had near-death experiences seemed to have an extra ability.
Right.
Because they'd crossed that barrier, into the unknown, and so maybe they could operate better. So they put out and sort of an edict to all of the different, types of the military, the Army, Air Force, and so on and so forth. So, hey, have you got any guys or gals who've been blown up and now they're talking weird stuff? We want to talk to them.
Yeah.
Right. And so, they thought that near-death experiencers, have an extra ability. And that may be true, but I think more than, probably more than that is the people with their minds open.
Sure.
It's like people that, they've never had a near-death experience, but had little experiences.
Right.
And so one of the things that I discovered, anyway, Bob Monroe and Captain Atwater, thought that I might have some abilities in this, and so they, yeah. So,
sorry. Understatements.
Yeah. So I spent, we put together basically the first remote viewing program at the Monroe Institute in Virginia, and I taught that with Captain Atwater for 10 years about.
Yeah.
And then Skip retired, and Joe McMonigal took over, but our schedules didn't work out, and so he started working with a couple of ladies, which is just fine.
Yeah.
And but over the years, I've discovered just how important that is. And remote viewing, or I call it remote sensing.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for saying it that way, because it doesn't always come across, and we can talk about this if you'd like, it doesn't always come across as a visual cortex experience.
Right.
It's all of the things: sight, smell, sound.
Right. It's there's two ways of, basically, going through the process,
Yeah.
if you will.
Yeah.
And it's no longer a hidden process, but it used to be.
Yeah.
About how would you do that? How would you be able to identify or describe things that are on the other side of the world, in the middle of nowhere, And they put together a process that, in the Stargate protocol of how to do that. And it was very profound for me, learning all about this and how to do it. And I probably spent a couple of months training, and so I found it really, really an amazing, mind-blowing aspect of it.
Did you develop your own personal approach to this, or did you follow Morehouse's book, or how did you approach it?
I've trained with Skip Atwater,
Right.
with David Morehouse, with Lynn Buchanan, with a whole bunch of the original Stargate remote viewers. But eventually, how you learn is by screwing up.
Yeah, that's everything. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. And so eventually, and David Morehouse, and so putting it together that way, and eventually, after doing it thousands of times, you learn what the right process. I mean, the reality is, if you've 14 times in a row, when you thought it was this and it wasn't, it was this.
Yeah.
After the 15th time, you go, oh, of course, it's got to be this.
Yeah.
You learn that way. And so that's how that process, seems to work for me anyway. Yeah. And so just over the years, I've done thousands of remote viewings and things like that, but I do view it. I don't call it remote viewing. I call it remote sensing.
Right.
Because that's what it's about. It's about, yes, you can, if you want to identify a target, you can go to, there's two ways when we're training it. We'll have an envelope with a photograph inside the envelope and say, okay, and you can say, okay, try and see the envelope inside the photograph. No, because that's sort of a retrograde, Isn't it better if you could say, well, imagine if you could go to the location that the photograph was taken at the time it was taken.
Right.
What would you smell? What would you hear? What would you taste? What would you feel?
Yeah.
Rather than trying to describe a two-dimensional image inside an envelope.
Yep.
It's about going to the location. And that's remote sensing.
There was an experience that I had while at the Monroe Institute during, I want to say, the Conscious Coherence program, where the trainer had said, okay, so I went and recorded this on a location. I'd like the group of you to try to go find the location. And for me personally, all of a sudden I was walking on this concrete path in a park outside of a city with the golden grass and the tree and a fountain. And as I was approaching the fountain, I slipped on water and fell. And that feeling when you're falling out of body. Unfortunately, I woke up and lost the whole thing. But when I described it, he said, oh, yeah, no, you were where I recorded this. And it's one of those, you don't expect it, because I didn't go into it thinking I'm going to go remote view. It was, oh, let's just sink into the sound, the audio, and try to be there. And it sometimes works. For some people, it always works, apparently. Yeah. I need thousands and thousands of reps.
Yes. Yeah.
But it's a wild phenomena. And thank you again for describing it as remote sensing, because for me, it wasn't looking for a coded number or coordinates. Right. It was following the sound and letting that take me back to a moment in time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just wild experiences.
To me, it's just sort of amazing.
Yeah.
Like, I absolutely adore it. It's, the process, but it just sort of, opens the door to everything.
It's so evocative of an aspect of the experience that we don't generally pay attention to. Right. Or if we experience it ourselves, we downplay it. We say, oh, it's just imagination. The thing that's beaten into you as a child, right? Yeah. Oh, Paul's got such a great imagination. He thought he saw himself falling out of a tree.
Yeah.
Yeah. About that.
Yeah. it's just phenomenal. What I've discovered is like, so they, in the early days when they created the program, they used, geographical coordinates.
Right.
For
Lat
target
long
numbers.
and all that. Yeah.
And then when they were challenged on that, Angus Swan put together, you don't need you can just make up any random number
Right.
as a target number and it works. And they went, really?
Which the association there still baffles me.
Yes. And so they did that, and it was like, yeah. And I've done targets where there is no target number.
Yeah.
It just, I'll get a call from someone in the, intelligence service saying, can you help us with the project?
Yeah.
Yep, sure, okay. Yeah. What do you got, target number? Oh, shoot. You don't need a target number. Just tell me what I need to know.
Yeah. Which is wild.
Yeah, and so you just sort of open up to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Over the years, what I've found is that sometimes, it's become so ingrained in me that sometimes, and this is the part that really blows my mind, is our perception of time.
Yeah.
And, if you want to predict, say, the future, and I've done that for the services, for taking a look at the future, say, for the American Olympic team.
For example.
Right. Are they under threat? Is there, blah, blah, blah. But I don't know that.
Right.
Don't know what the target is.
Yeah.
And so they say, well, we got a project for you. It's about time. Okay.
Yeah.
And so,
And they presumably don't tell you this is a future or past or current. They just say, we have a target for you.
Yeah. Or they might say, well, we're looking, because we've sort of developed a little bit of a,
Sure.
after time and everything else and experience.
Yeah.
They might say, we're looking at a future possibility.
Got it.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's it. So without time or anything else, here's the reality, and this is strange. I worked for a large stock market trader.
Oh, no.
They came to one of our remote viewing workshops in Virginia, and the guy was just, over the week, as we're teaching them about remote viewing and stuff like that, and the guy is just like on my case, like, oh, you got to help us. This would be so cool. We can predict the market. And he put together some amazing possibilities as the week is going on. So in reality, when that first happened, and what are we doing? And he said, if you want to predict the future, you wait until it happens, until it's written in time and history, and you send yourself the message back in time. What did you just say? You wait until it's happened, until it's written in time and history, send yourself the message back in time.
Clever.
So what they did, this marketplace, when do we know what happened in the stock market? 4:30 Eastern Standard Time, when the New York Stock Exchange closes, we know exactly what happens. It went up or it went down. And so this particular company, they weren't interested in doing individual shares, but they were doing like indexes.
Right.
S&P 500, Dow Jones. And all they want to know is it going to go up today or down? Because if they think it's going to go down, then they short sell.
That's right.
And if they think it's going to go up, then they buy. So what they said was, okay, so when do we know? Well, at 4:30 tomorrow we'll know. But we need you to tell us today what's going to happen tomorrow.
Right.
So guess what we're going to do? Tomorrow, after 4:30, we're going to send you a photograph. Describe it today. What photograph are you going to see tomorrow?
How did that go?
And I thought, no, they're crazy. I thought, no, that can't work. And during the week, they made it more attractive to me.
Yeah.
And then I'm thinking, because when you think about it, well, I got a 50% chance, just sort of by guessing.
Right.
Maybe. Right. if you can get them a 60% advantage, that's pretty cool, actually, a 10% advantage.
Yeah, all of a
You
sudden.
get them up to 70%, that's way cool.
Yeah.
80%, you can write your own ticket, kind of stuff.
Sure.
And so I thought, well, that's really cool. And so anyway, we did this, and all I know is that what they did is they put together thousands of photographs, all right? There were distinct photographs. And so they might say, okay, tomorrow, if the market goes up, we'll send them this picture of a fire truck. And if it goes down, we'll send them a picture of this turtle.
Sure.
Okay. Tomorrow. Okay. So I said, so tonight I got to sit and envision what I'm going to see tomorrow.
Yeah.
And so I open up my mind to it. What am I going to get? I'm going to get, flashing red lights. Flashing red lights and wheels. And I would draw this out.
Yeah.
And I would email it to them tonight so that when they get to the office at 6 tomorrow morning,
they can make a call based on.
Right. And so they might look at it and they might go, oh, that's going to be the fire truck. That means the market's going up.
Right.
And guess what?
Yeah.
When they finally did this and they put, and I thought, this is just bull.
Right.
I'm just going to make stuff up or just do it. How they had it set up, they said, okay, we'll pay you X amount of dollars for every correct decision.
Okay.
And then based on your 25-day moving average, we'll give you a bonus.
This is attractive. Okay.
Yeah. So they made it, and so I'm thinking, oh, this can't work. I was 100% correct for the first 10 days.
Oh, God.
And it was like, holy crap, this is so cool.
Yeah.
And we did it for about 9-month period. So after 10 days in a row, I'm at 100%.
Right.
And,
these guys are losing their minds.
Well, yeah, it was going good. And then I messed up and I missed 2 of them. So now I'm down to 80%. So after, I think 8 or 9 months that we did it, my average worked out to 74.8% or something like that.
Shia right in your, oh, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. So it worked really well.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was amazed at it.
I mean, you want evidentiary support for this. That's a fairly, beating a bell curve by far.
Oh, yeah.
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 So one of the things we did promise was a discussion on aliens. And I'd like to, you had referenced that some of your experiences had opened you up to some of this. And when you were discussing early elements of the soul group, you brought in the concept of aliens, or do we call it non-human intelligences? How do you describe them? Because aliens is sort of almost a throwback catch-all term.
Yeah.
At this point in our experience.
Well, it's notwithstanding the insanity that's going on our planet right now. This is a really cool time to be alive.
Yeah.
There is some amazing stuff that is coming. It has been coming for years. And I discovered this through the remote viewing process and everything else.
Okay.
In the process that we have, and if we take a look back to the late 60s, early 70s, the lunar landings.
Sure.
Back in those days, back in the late 60s, early 70s, it was a big fight with the Russians, with the Soviets.
Right.
There was the arms race, there was the space race, and America got to the moon first and planted the flag, and then they still had 3 more missions left in the Apollo series when all of a sudden they just quit going.
Right. And there's rumor that some of these did happen, but we don't have any tangible.
Well, here's some things that maybe people don't realize.
Sure.
Yes, they did shoot a video of it.
Okay.
But it wasn't on the moon.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is this the soundstage Kubrick stuff? Okay.
Right. Because they did that because what if it didn't work? They wouldn't want to admit to the Russians, to the Soviets, that it didn't work.
Right. And we're trying to bankrupt them.
Yes. Yes, totally. So they did actually shoot, some Earth stuff.
Yeah.
Right. But the reality is yes, they were on the moon. Okay.
Yeah.
And the the process there on the moon of just, I mean, we're talking 1968, 1969, before computed, before anything,
Right.
of any particular, being able to put that together. So it's amazing. Some of the people this is in 2006, I think. I was at a speaking engagement in California.
Right on.
And a bunch of people coming down afterwards and wanting to sign the book, that kind of stuff. And a fairly big fella comes along, and he looks familiar. And I'm thinking, Dwayne? And he goes, Edgar Mitchell. Yeah, exactly. And I'm thinking, oh my God, that's like the lunar lander pilot.
Right.
And I'm thinking, holy smokes, that was so cool. So anyway, Edgar and I got to know each other, and Edgar is the lunar lander pilot who he died about 2-3 years ago now, I think, or 4 years ago now. We were actually in an A&E special.
Yeah.
About 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And Edgar talking about the moon and stuff like that, and me talking about drowning in the prairies in the middle of nowhere.
Similar conversation to this one.
Yes, yeah, pretty much. And so, anyway, Edgar, when he got back, and when he was on the moon, on one of the occasions or whatever, and he looks out the window, sees a spaceship. And I said, what on earth is that?
Right.
Houston ground control came on immediately and said, Commander Mitchell, you did not see that. So, zip it.
Madness.
So Edgar gets back to Earth, and he can't
talk about this.
Yeah, he can't control himself, a little bit.
Yeah.
So he lets a few things go, and then he heads back to California, and he creates noetic sciences and ions and spiritually based stuff, and dying to share stuff. And so anyway, I just found that whole process so remarkable.
It's interesting to me that he went from presumably seeing this craft while on the moon to founding ions and working with noetic sciences and spirituality. Like that, there's a question there that's not being asked explicitly. But why not? Like, how does one lead him to the other instead of becoming full-on MUFON or... somebody haunting Area 51, right?
Yes. Yeah. But there is a vast, because we're so much more than we think.
Yeah.
We are not just these little rounded bodies stuck in the middle of nowhere. We're connected to the rest of the entire universe. And there's some really cool things that are coming. So after 50 years, because what happened is there was like 2 or 3 Apollo series landings that were still on the schedule, and they suddenly quit.
Right.
No announcements. They just quit. So did the Russians. Nobody announced anything. Quit for 50 years.
Yeah.
Now, all of a sudden, everybody's going to the moon again. Right?
Yeah.
Now, things have changed. We've got technology. We've got all sorts of, stuff. And in fact, I think there is a new mission to go around the moon.
Yeah.
In the early part of 2026. Yes. So I think within the next year and a half or so, we're going to be blown away.
Okay.
With full disclosure of extraterrestrials and so on and so forth. One of the things that I'll share with you. At the Institute, we get to have some cool people.
Yes.
That come there. And this is 2007, I think. And so on Saturday, whenever everybody arrives and after we start, introducing everybody and that sort of thing, we go over to the hall and people get up. And there was the third last guy, and they're introducing themselves, going around the room. And the third last guy stands up and goes, "Hi, my name's Philip. I'm a rocket scientist." And he sits down, and we all kind of giggled. Like, I ain't no rocket scientist, but...
Right.
And I looked over at Skip, and he went, "Oh, yeah.
He's legit."
And so, later on, excuse me, Skip and I are talking in the control room, and Skip says, "Yeah, this is the Houston Ground Control Commander during the Apollo series of lunar landings.
AKA the guy who told Edgar to shut his mouth.
Yeah. So I am all over this poor guy.
God,
It's like, I cannot believe it. It's like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God.
I've seen you in action, Paul.
Oh yeah. I was a poor guy. It's like, here, Philip, you shouldn't have to walk. Let me carry you.
Oh boy.
And it was just so hilarious. But he would mostly I would ask him questions and he would mostly just laugh it off and stuff like this.
Yeah.
So on Wednesday night, I think it was down there, he and I ended up having dinner at the quiet end of the room in Monroe Institute.
Yep.
And I'm bringing him with, I want to know stuff. Because by then I knew there were a couple of remote viewers in the Stargate system who had been into ET.
Yeah.
And had been remote viewing extraterrestrials. And what they had come back with is that they said that basically the schedule kind of stuff, the time schedule was ETs.
As in they were the ones to dictate the schedule of
right, to get away from
disclosure.
The moon. So ET was saying, no, go away from the moon.
Okay.
And so that's why Russia and the States just backed off.
Because we were part
up.
of an agreement, etc., is the suggestion here.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. And so they, And anyway, I'm just pushing, and I'm asking him questions like, well, come on, tell me what happened.
Mm-hmm.
I won't tell anybody honest. And
hi.
yes, yeah. And so it was so funny because he said, well, finally he's a little frustrated,
Sure.
And finally he said, well, what do you think? And I told him, I said, well, there's some remote viewers and stuff like this. They believe that extraterrestrials are on the moon and that it was, the moon is not a natural thing. Right. And that it's, and I said, so that's what we think, that it was ET who pushed everybody away from the moon.
Sure.
And he goes, well, and he said this to me. He said, assuming that I knew, do you think I could tell you? And I went,
not with that attitude, man.
And said, well, with that wink or something.
Right.
Seriously, I did that.
Yeah.
And we kind of giggled about it. And then, the session ended and go home. And I can't remember when it was, if it was this 4 months later or a year and 4 months later. But I'm down there for another workshop. And I finish up and I'm at a layover in Dulles Airport and get on another plane, and I'm flying back to Calgary, Canada. And between two jet engines going vroom, 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 vroom.
Oh,
pretty soon I'm hemi-synced toast. And so my chin is pasted to my chest. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, there's a face right here.
Mm-hmm.
And sort of grayish, black and white.
That's how it happens, isn't it? And the presentation.
Yeah. And it's Philip. And looking at him going, what the heck? And he goes, big grin and a wink and wave and boom, he's gone. I'm like, yes.
Yeah. You're awake now.
And it was like, holy crap. But it was, when I got home, it was like midnight. So I waited till the next day. Then I phoned Virginia. I phoned Skip.
Yeah.
And I said, Skip, this is the weirdest thing. Like, this face appeared in front of me, and it was like this felt.
Yeah.
And he just sort of winked and was gone. And Skip said, oh, that's weird. And so 2 days later, I get a phone call from Skip. And Skip says, this is even weirder, Paul. Guess what? Philip died 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
And I was like, holy crap.
Right. Hairs on your neck. The whole nine.
Yeah. Because now he isn't restricted.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Oh, yeah. I'm sure these are all they all concluded death or something, right?
Yeah. He came and winked.
Yeah.
And it was so cool. So it's things like this just completely blew my life away.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's and every single one of these is something that could be just passed off as, Paul, you've got a great imagination.
Yes.
And also, like, we have mountains of evidentiary support for things like remote viewing turning up positive hits.
Totally.
You described a couple already. The whole thing, like the experience when you are just in that interstitial space where things happen. You've probably had way more experience with entities than I have. But for me, when you describe it as the face showing up right there, that is, for me, 10 out of 10 every time. There's that presentation, sort of saying, oh, hey, I'm here. Are we good? And then the things get weird. So
But yeah, totally. What strikes me the most about that is because, I mean, like, you know, he's no longer, he's dead. He's no longer held to as classified.
Right. Which, by the way, good on him for holding it.
Yes, I think it was.
I respect that.
Yeah.
I don't like it, but I respect it.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
It's got to be that way.
Apparently.
So that's my experience with it, and so just think a fascinating thing.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see what does happen. There are a lot of people right now talking, and we discussed this a little bit last night. A lot of people are talking about the first quarter of 2026. I'm not gonna get too excited because I lived through Y2K and 2012 and
Yes,
infinite, apparently, other major events that were going to happen and never did. Boy, it's nice to have something interesting to look toward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Within the next year and a half, we're going to be.
Things are going to be wild.
Full disclosure.
It's the rumor, and not the soft disclosure that we've been having,
Right.
and not the very controlled. Everybody that talks about it has clearance and has had PR sign off on what they can say.
Yeah.
Things are going to get a little more interesting. That's interesting.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Paul, thank you so much. I think we've said it all. Everybody, thank you for joining us. Paul, you've been so generous with your time. I can't even begin. So,
my pleasure entirely. Thank you very much.
I'll take it.
Good.
Everybody, have a great one. Thank you again for tuning in, and we'll see you later.
Thank you.
All right, gang, that's it for today's episode. A huge thank you to Paul Elder for taking time to sit down with me. He was incredibly gracious, both as a guest and a host for the long weekend. I also want to shout out my friends Jen and Jonathan for joining me on the trip. I feel so fortunate to have friends like you. Also, much love to Zoe at the Black Ball Ferry Terminal. You've definitely helped me out as I navigated all of the things on Thanksgiving Day. And of course, thanks to Team NMS, Anna the Wild Orazan and Emily Rivers. The show wouldn't exist the way that it does without the two of you. If you enjoyed today's conversation, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and comment on the show wherever you are, and please share us with a friend. It really helps us grow and bring on even more incredible guests like Paul Elder. You can also follow along on Instagram at No More Strangers Podcast to keep the conversation going. Lastly, thank you again for tuning in. And until next time, take care, keep exploring, and as always, I hope that you now have one less stranger in your life.